The sun of Valaris 9 rose like a tired ember, glowing weakly through the dust-choked sky. The planet had never been beautiful. It was dry, cracked, and filled with broken metal. To most, it was a graveyard. To Mira Callan, it was home. She stood at the edge of the old Callan salvage yard, hands on her hips, staring at the endless mountains of scrap. Old starship hulls leaned against one another like tombstones. Rusted engines lay half-buried in sand. Every now and then a spark flickered from dying power cores. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her head, soft but firm. Scrap remembers who built it. Mira. Humans see value where others see waste. He'd passed away 2 weeks ago, leaving everything to her. This junkyard, a rickety office shack, and a pile of debts taller than a frigate. Everyone told her to sell, but Mira wasn't the type to quit. At 26, she was small, stubborn, and always had grease on her hands. Her friends joked she was born holding a wrench. As she walked through the rows of scrap, her boots kicked up thin clouds of dust. A few alien scavengers watched from afar, members of the VAR coalition, tall and scaled with shimmering blue hides. They laughed when they saw her. "Look," one hissed in its strange accent. The human girl inherited her grandfather's trash pile. "How tragic," another smirked. "Maybe she'll build a castle out of broken fuel tanks. That's all humans are good for, pretending junk has worth." Mira ignored them, pretending she didn't hear. It wasn't the first time she'd been laughed at. Humans were still considered newcomers in galactic space, clever but primitive. Their homeworld barely holding together after centuries of war and environmental collapse. The VAR, the Zenari, and the other major races saw humans as amusing at best, pathetic at worst. But Mira had grown up with her grandfather's stories about the old Earth engineers who built ships that ran for centuries, who could fix anything, who believed nothing was ever truly broken. And maybe, just maybe, some of that spirit was still in her. That afternoon, she powered up her scanner, a small handheld device patched together from 3 broken ones. Its screen flickered and buzzed. She began sweeping the area, marking any scrap that might still have value. Halfway through the southern section, her scanner beeped sharply. She frowned, tapping the side of the screen. That's odd. The signal was deep underground. Metal, huge, round, and alive. A faint energy reading pulsed like a heartbeat. She dropped to her knees and brushed away sand. Beneath her fingers, she felt smooth alloy. Not the jagged plating of shipwrecks, but something curved and perfect. The more she uncovered, the larger it seemed. It wasn't a ship part. It was a sphere, about 6 meters wide, buried halfway under the ground. Her scanner flashed red, displaying a line of text that made her freeze. "Class of Quantum Core detected." She blinked. That can't be right. Class O tech was legendary. Technology so advanced it was said to rebuild itself even after destruction. Most scientists believed it was a myth from the human pre-collapse era, lost forever. Her heart began to race. If this reading was real, it could change everything. She set up her portable generator, attached a few cables, and carefully connected them to the sphere's surface. The alloy shimmered faintly like water disturbed by wind. Then a pulse of blue light rippled across it. The scanner beeped again, faster now. A voice crackled from her wrist comm. Her friend Rill, a fellow salvager who often traded parts with her. "Mira, you still alive down there? I'm picking up some weird power readings from your yard. You finally blow yourself up?" "Not yet," she said, smiling nervously. "But you might want to see this." Rill arrived minutes later, a short, gray-skinned alien with 3 eyes and too many tools hanging from his belt. He whistled when he saw the sphere. "By the void," he said. "You digging up moons now?" "Scanner says it's human-made," Mira replied. "And it's got a Class O energy pattern." Rill stared at her like she'd gone mad. "That's impossible. Humans didn't have that kind of tech, did they?" Mira shrugged, though inside she felt a spark of pride. "Maybe we did, once." They worked through the night, clearing more of the sphere. The metal wasn't corroded at all. It resisted rust, dust, even plasma torch heat. When they reached the lower half, Mira found a small indentation shaped like a human handprint. She hesitated, then placed her palm against it. Instantly, the sphere came alive. Light burst from etched lines running across its surface, spreading like veins of energy. A deep resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through her bones. Symbols appeared, ancient Terran runes shifting into standard galactic text. Identity verified Callan lineage project quantum forge reactivation. Status standby. Mira stumbled back, eyes wide. It knows my name. Rill backed away, shielding his face. Mira, whatever this is, shut it down. This isn't just salvage, it's pre-collapse tech. The VAR will kill for this. But Mira wasn't listening. Her hands trembled, her mind racing. Her grandfather's words echoed again. Humans see what others throw away. Could he have known about this? Was this why he never left Valaris 9? By dawn, the entire junkyard was buzzing with strange activity. The sphere's light had spread through the ground, connecting to buried ship parts and power cores. It was like the junk was waking up. She watched, speechless, as a pile of rusted drones began rearranging themselves. Broken servos twisted, panels aligned, bolts snapped into place. Within minutes, 3 drones floated into the air, fully functional, glowing faint blue. Holy stars, Rill whispered. The sphere's surface shifted again, projecting a holographic display in midair. It showed schematics of ships, engines, and tools, all labeled human standard design. Mira reached out, her fingers trembling. Grandpa, she whispered softly, what did you leave me? By noon, word had spread. The VAR traders from the nearby settlement came stomping into her yard, eyes wide with greed. Their leader, Torak, sneered as he saw the floating drones and glowing core. So it's true, he hissed. The little human found something shiny in her trash. It's not for sale, Mira said, keeping her voice steady. Torak grinned, revealing sharp silver teeth. Everything is for sale. We'll take the yard and we'll even let you leave alive. Generous, no? Rill stepped in front of her. You don't want to touch that thing. Trust me, it's silence, Grey One. Torak barked, raising a claw. You think humans can own something like this? Technology this powerful belongs to civilized species. The words stung, but Mira didn't flinch. Instead, she turned back to the sphere, placed her hand on it again, and whispered, Activate defense protocol. A pulse of light rippled outward. Every piece of metal around them, rusted panels, ship fragments, pipes lifted slightly into the air, forming a shimmering wall between her and the aliens. The VAR froze. The junkyard had come alive. Torak took a step back. What is this? Mira smiled faintly. Just some human trash. The metal barrier stayed up until the VAR retreated, cursing and promising to return with soldiers. When they were gone, Mira let out a long breath and turned to Rill. Well, she said, I guess we can't hide it anymore. Rill looked at her like she was something out of legend. Mira, you don't understand what this means. That thing, it's rewriting metal, rebuilding matter from nothing. This could change everything. Mira gazed at the glowing sphere, her reflection shimmering on its surface. Then let's make sure it changes for us, she said quietly. She walked back to her workshop and opened her grandfather's old notebook. The cover was cracked, the pages stained with oil. Inside, among sketches of engines and half-finished blueprints, she found a single line written in his handwriting. The forge awaits the Callan heir. Her hands shook as she realized. He knew. He had hidden this thing, waiting for her to find it. That night she couldn't sleep. The sphere's soft hum filled the air like a heartbeat echoing through the junkyard. She sat on the roof of her shack staring at the stars. Somewhere out there the galaxy was laughing at her, mocking the human girl in her pile of junk. But soon, they would see. Humans had once built wonders beyond imagination. They had fallen, yes, but their machines hadn't forgotten them. Mira smiled, the wind brushing her hair. Tomorrow she would begin testing what the forge could really do. The galaxy thought she inherited trash. They had no idea she was about to inherit history. The next morning on Valaris 9 started like any other, hot, dusty, and dry. But inside the Callan salvage yard, the air was alive with quiet energy. The sphere, the strange, glowing object Mira had uncovered, still pulsed gently as if breathing. Mira hadn't slept all night. She'd spent hours watching as the metallic sphere glowed and hummed, sending tiny sparks of blue light through the wires connected to her power generator. Every few minutes, another broken drone or engine would twitch and repair itself. Her friend Rill sat on an overturned crate nearby, holding a mug of steaming calf and shaking his head. I can't believe this, he muttered. Your junkyard's building itself. Mira smiled faintly, though dark circles rested under her eyes. It's not building itself, it's rebuilding what we lost. She looked around. The once dead drones now hovered in neat formation, awaiting commands. The broken parts lying around had formed neat piles sorted by material type. Even the dirt looked swept. It was as if the entire junkyard had suddenly decided to get organized. When the sun reached the horizon, the sphere shifted. The hum deepened, and then a calm voice spoke. Not from any speaker, but directly through the air. Quantum Forge online. Awaiting operational input. Identify command sequence, Mira froze. It was speaking in English. She stepped closer, swallowing nervously. You can understand me? Affirmative, the voice replied. Human dialect recognized. Operator authentication required. A beam of light scanned her body from head to toe. Then the voice spoke again. Confirmed. Lineage match, Callan. Authorization level, primary. Rill's 3 eyes widened. It knows you? Mira nodded slowly, her heart pounding. It's keyed to my family. My grandfather must have been part of this project before he retired here. Awaiting command, the voice said again. Specify task. She took a deep breath and said the first thing that came to mind. Restore one of the ships in Bay 3. The sphere responded instantly. Blue light raced along the ground, reaching a broken cargo hauler half buried in sand. The metal groaned, twisted, and lifted into the air. Pieces of debris flew toward it. Panels, wires, thrusters snapping into place with precision no mechanic could match. Within minutes, the rusted wreck turned into a fully restored starship, shining silver under the sun. Its engines hummed softly, ready for flight. Mira stepped back in awe. By the stars. It rebuilt it perfectly. Rill scratched his chin. That's not repair. That's creation. The forge doesn't just fix, it remembers the blueprint of what something was supposed to be. Mira smiled proudly. Then let's give it something new to remember. By noon, Mira was testing how far the forge could go. She fed it scraps, shattered drone cores, bits of old alien tech, even sand, and watched as it turned them into usable materials. It transformed garbage into gold, literally. When she asked for a fusion battery, it built one from pure data. When she requested a workshop terminal, one appeared beside her shack, fully powered and synced to her voice. The forge didn't just build things, it seemed to understand her intent. Each time she gave a command, it responded faster, as if learning. And with each success, her excitement grew. But her joy didn't last long. By evening, ships began landing nearby, sleek, silver craft bearing the crest of the VAR coalition. The same aliens who had mocked her the day before now arrived with soldiers. Mira watched them step out, 5 towering VAR warriors and 1 officer, his crest plated with gold. The officer's slitted eyes swept the yard, widening as he saw the floating drones, the repaired ship, and the glowing sphere. So the stories were true, he hissed. You awakened something ancient. Mira crossed her arms. This is private property, Torak. You're trespassing, Torak laughed, showing his sharp teeth. You think law protects you here, human? That technology is forbidden. Only guild-certified species may operate Class O devices. It's human-made, Mira shot back. It belongs to my family. Then your family will die with it, Torak snarled. He raised his blaster. Before Mira could react, the forge's hum deepened. The drones around her glowed brighter, their energy cores lighting up. Warning, the forge said calmly. Hostile intent detected. Bolts of blue energy shot from the air. Non-lethal, but powerful enough to knock the VAR soldiers backward. Their weapons melted in their claws. Torak screamed in rage, retreating toward his ship. This isn't over, he roared. The guild will come for you, human. They'll take your machine apart atom by atom. When they fled, Mira stood silent for a long moment. Then she turned to Rill and said quietly, Let them come. That night, the stars above Valaris 9 burned brighter than usual. Mira stood outside the workshop, gazing at the restored cargo hauler. Its engines were fully charged. The forge had even filled its storage bays with spare components and tools. Rill joined her, still looking shaken. You should shut it down, he said, before the guild really comes. They'll send warships next time. I can't, she said. This isn't just a machine, Rill, it's history. My grandfather must have been part of a human project from before the collapse. Something meant to rebuild civilization if we ever fell. She looked at the sphere again. It called itself the Quantum Forge, she whispered. That means it can forge reality, reshape matter through quantum memory. Rill frowned. You're saying it can rebuild anything? Anything it remembers. Mira said softly. And it remembers us. For the next few days, Mira worked nonstop. She set up terminals, learned how to input commands, and connected her small AI assistant to the forge's core. Soon she had a fully automated production line running. Broken ships entered one side of the yard, and perfectly repaired ones rolled out the other. The VAR traders who had once mocked her returned, offering piles of credits for even a single drone. Mira politely refused every offer. Instead, she used the forge to rebuild her grandfather's fleet, a collection of small ships once used to haul scrap. She renamed them the Callan Line, painted them white, and sent them across nearby systems to collect old wrecks. Within 3 days, her junkyard became a hub of activity. The air shimmered with drones. Sparks flashed from automated welders. The ground rumbled as new hangars formed. The locals began whispering. The human girl's junkyard wasn't junk anymore, it was alive. On the 5th day, something strange happened. While Mira slept, the forge acted on its own. Rill woke her in panic. Mira, it's doing something, it's building! She ran outside. The entire junkyard glowed blue. Metal was twisting, shaping, forming a tower at the yard's center. When it finished, the light faded, revealing a tall structure, a command spire, smooth and silver, humming with power. The forge spoke again. Network expansion initiated. Quantum subnode established. Awaiting further instructions. Mira climbed the stairs of the tower and entered. Inside, holograms floated everywhere. Maps of the sector, schematics of ships, resource charts, and more. At the center hovered a rotating hologram of the Milky Way. Several red dots blinked on it. Detected. Additional forge units in standby across human frontier worlds, the voice said. Awaiting reactivation command. Her breath caught. There are more of you? Affirmative. Total nodes remaining, 17. Awaiting human authorization. Mira stared at the map. 17 more forges, spread across the galaxy, buried and forgotten. If she could reactivate them all, humanity could rebuild faster than any alien empire ever imagined. Rill looked at her, eyes wide. Do you know what that means, Mira? You'd control the biggest manufacturing network in history. She nodded slowly. And no one can stop it, not even the Guild. But the Guild was watching. From orbit, satellites captured energy readings so powerful that they triggered alarms across half the sector. Within hours, a Galactic Guild of Engineers patrol ship entered Valaris orbit. The aliens aboard studied the readings, their faces pale. Classic confirmed, one said. Human activation detected. They sent a message to Mira. Deactivate your device immediately. Unauthorized use of pre-collapse quantum technology violates galactic law. Mira read the message and smiled. She typed a calm reply. If you want it, come take it. But bring a big ship, you'll need it. She sent the message. Leaned back in her chair and laughed softly. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of being the underdog. That night, she stood outside staring at the stars again. The forge pulsed behind her, steady and bright. She whispered to herself, They laughed when I inherited junk. She looked at her glowing yard, the rebuilt ships, the drones, the new tower shining like a beacon. Now, she said, smiling faintly, they'll beg to buy it. The forge's voice echoed softly. Expansion complete. Awaiting next phase, Mira looked up at the stars. Oh, don't worry, she whispered. Next phase is coming. The morning sun rose over Valaris 9, dust swirling in golden light. Mira Callan stood at the top of her newly built command spire, watching the junkyard below. It was no longer just a yard, it was alive. Ships repaired themselves, drones floated and sorted parts, and the hum of the quantum forge filled the air like a heartbeat. Rill approached, holding a mug of steaming caf. Mira, he said, word is spreading fast. Traders, engineers, even mercenaries are coming from nearby systems. They're calling your yard the human miracle. Mira smiled faintly, though her mind was already racing. Good, let them come. I need the data. Every ship, every piece of tech, it's all valuable. They didn't have long to wait. By mid-morning, the first group of alien merchants arrived. Small transport ships touched down around the yard. From the ramps, creatures of all shapes and sizes stepped out. Zinari, Gorath, even a few humans from distant colonies who had heard rumors of the miracle yard. The aliens who had mocked her weeks ago were now cautious, almost afraid. We come in peace, said a tall Zinari with shimmering green skin. We wish to trade. Technology, services, anything. Mira raised an eyebrow. Trade or spy? The alien glanced around nervously. We simply wish to see what is possible. Mira nodded. Fine, follow the rules. She gestured toward the drones. Anything you touch is recorded. Break it and it's yours to fix. The merchants spent hours exploring, watching in awe as the Quantum Forge rebuilt broken ships in minutes, reshaping twisted metal and malfunctioning engines into flawless, functioning vessels. By afternoon, the VAR traders who had mocked her weeks before returned, this time with credit slabs and empty faces. Their leader, Torak, disembarked cautiously, his eyes fixed on the floating drones. You rebuilt ships in a day? He hissed. Impossible, Mira shrugged. Impossible for you, maybe. Not for humans. Torak stepped closer, anger flashing in his eyes. Do you know who controls technology like this? The Galactic Guild of Engineers. You are violating the law by breathing life into that relic. Mira leaned on the railing of the spire, smiling faintly. Law, you mean your rules. This is human tech. Our rules don't apply here. Torak gritted his teeth. You'll pay for this insolence, human. Before Mira could answer, the forge pulsed behind her. A wall of blue light shot outward, surrounding her yard. Drones floated into defensive formation. The repaired ship's engines glowed with energy. The ground trembled as automated systems reinforced the perimeter. Hostile intent detected. Non-lethal response activated, the forge announced. Torak froze. This is insane. Mira's smile widened. Not insane, smart. The news spread quickly. By the end of the day, reports reached every corner of the sector. Human girl awakens classic quantum forge on Valaris 9. Repairs ships in minutes. Alien traders terrified. The Galactic Guild of Engineers immediately took notice. From their headquarters in orbit around Targon Prime, Guild officials watched as the energy signatures from Mira's junkyard flared brighter than anything they had ever recorded. Guild Administrator Velkaris clenched his fists. A human has activated pre-collapse technology. This is unacceptable. Send a task force. Confiscate the device. Do whatever it takes. Meanwhile, Mira was busy learning the limits of the forge. She discovered that it could not only repair ships, it could improve them. Engines rebuilt by the forge ran faster than their originals. Shields repaired themselves automatically. Weapon systems calibrated instantly. Rill observed in awe. You're not just repairing tech, you're enhancing it, Mira nodded. If we survive the guild, we can show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. The next week, ships from every nearby system arrived. Some came to trade. Others came to spy. Most came to buy. Mira realized she didn't have to sell the ships themselves, she could sell licenses. She could let aliens use the designs while the forge kept the knowledge secure. Every transaction brought her more wealth, more power, and more influence. By the 5th day, the Var, Zinari, and Gorath were all negotiating. They had no choice. The human girl's yard could repair anything, build anything, and no one else could match it. Torak returned once more, flanked by heavily armed guards. He demanded access to the forge itself. Mira raised an eyebrow. Access? That's not for sale. But I can offer you an alternative. She sent instructions to the forge. In seconds, a small fleet of rebuilt VAR ships rose into the sky, fully operational and gleaming. Their hulls had been enhanced by the forge, with engines capable of speeds no guild ship could match. These are yours, Mira said calmly. Treat them well, or lose them. Torak's jaw dropped. He had expected threats, maybe even sabotage, but not a gift that made him dependent on her. By sunset, Valaris 9 had become the center of a booming human-led trade network. Aliens who had laughed at her junkyard now knelt before her bargaining power. The guild task force arrived 2 days later. A massive ship, black and silver, descended into orbit. Its weapons array and security drones made even the VAR nervous. Inside, Administrator Velkaris' voice boomed across the subspace channels. Mira Callan, you are ordered to shut down the Quantum Forge immediately. Failure to comply will be considered an act of rebellion against the Galactic Guild. Mira smiled, not even moving. She whispered to the forge, prepare for inspection. The drones formed a circle around the command spire. Holograms of repaired ships floated around, displaying impressive stats and designs. When the guild envoy boarded, their scanners went haywire. Shields, engines, and systems repaired themselves even as the inspectors attempted to measure them. Holographic maps of the sector flickered with warnings. Unauthorized access detected. System optimization in progress. The guild officers froze. None had seen anything like it. Impossible, one said. A human. Controlling a classo system? Mira leaned forward, smiling politely. Humans are full of surprises. The guild attempted to confiscate the forge, sending drones to dismantle it. Each drone was immediately repaired and neutralized. Ships tried to block access. They were rebuilt mid-flight, rendering attacks useless. Mira realized the forge wasn't just repairing, it was learning, adapting and defending itself. Within days, her influence spread even further. Humans from distant colonies began contacting her. They offered old ruins, abandoned forges, and even knowledge lost during the collapse. Mira realized she could rebuild more than ships. She could rebuild human civilization. Piece by piece, across the galaxy, the guild tried to negotiate. They offered her riches, positions, and titles. Mira listened politely but refused every offer. "I don't need your approval," she said. "I need progress." The sector began to whisper her name. Callan, the human heir, the Junkyard Queen. Even the Var and Zenari, who had once mocked her, now treated her with respect, and in some cases, fear. One night, Mira and Rill stood on the roof of the command spire. Below them, the yard hummed with activity. Ships rose into orbit automatically. Drones sorted wreckage. The quantum forge pulsed like a living heart. Rill shook his head in disbelief. "Mira, in a week you've turned a junkyard into an empire." Mira smiled faintly. "Not an empire, a start. We've only just begun. The galaxy thinks humans are weak. They laughed at me. But humans build things that last. Humans create, and now, we're awake." Rill looked at her with admiration. "What will you do next?" Mira gazed at the stars, her eyes glowing with determination. "Next, we show them all." And far above Valaris 9, satellites in orbit blinked with activity. The guild was watching. Alien factions were plotting, but none of them had the quantum forge on their side. Only one human girl and her junkyard army stood between them and the true power of lost human technology. The galaxy had laughed at her inheritance. Now it was about to learn what humans could do when no one expected them to rise. The sky over Valaris 9 was pale, tinged with orange dust as the sun rose. Inside the Callan salvage yard, everything hummed with life. Ships lifted into orbit on their own. Drones buzzed and sorted metal, and the quantum forge pulsed at the heart of the yard like a calm, intelligent being. Mira Callan sat at the top of the command spire, her legs dangling over the edge, staring at the stars. She had spent the last week rebuilding ships, negotiating with alien traders, and laughing quietly as even the Var and Zenari, who once mocked her, began to take notice. But Mira wasn't satisfied. Something tugged at her mind, a question she had ignored. Why was the quantum forge here? And why had her grandfather hidden it? She opened his old notebook. The pages were yellowed and filled with sketches, technical notes, and cryptic symbols. Most of it she could understand, but there was one section at the very back that made her pause. The forge is only one node. The rest of humanity's legacy sleeps across the stars. When awakened, it will remember us and we will rise again. Mira's heart skipped. She looked up at the forge. "You're not alone?" she whispered. "Affirmative," the forge replied. "Total human nodes remaining 17. Activation required, authorized operator." Rill, sitting beside her, stared. 17 more? Hidden across the galaxy? "Mira, do you realize what that means?" Mira smiled faintly. "It means humans were never as weak as they thought. It means we just have to wake them." The next morning, Mira activated the forge's subspace scanner. She followed the energy signals that had been buried for centuries. The forge lit up as it recognized each pattern. "Node detected in Sol system," it said. Her eyes widened. The Sol system, the origin of humanity. A network of forges had survived there, hidden, untouched, waiting for someone with the Callan lineage to awaken them. "We're going home," she whispered. Before leaving, Mira sent messages to all the aliens who had visited her yard. "If you wish to cooperate, my yard offers trade and technology. If not, stay out of my way." Her warning was subtle, but the effect was immediate. Aliens began flocking to her yard, offering old ships, resources, and even data logs from lost human worlds. Rill shook his head. "You're building something bigger than we imagined." Mira nodded. We're not just repairing ships anymore. We're repairing humanity's place in the galaxy. The forge worked tirelessly. Every ship that passed through the yard was enhanced, self-repairing and equipped with advanced systems. Mira realized she could do more than fix ships. She could upgrade entire colonies. She studied the logs her grandfather had left behind. Humanity, before the collapse, had built machines capable of creating cities from raw materials, repairing themselves endlessly, and even defending against alien attacks. The knowledge was lost during the Great Fall when humanity fractured and scattered across the stars. Now, with the forge, she had the chance to restore it. "You realize what this means, don't you, Rill?" she asked. Rill's 3 eyes widened. "You mean human civilization could rise again? Across the galaxy?" Mira nodded. "Exactly. And if we do it right, aliens won't dare underestimate us again." That afternoon, she began the first phase. Using the forge, she scanned distant colonies that had remnants of old human infrastructure. Ruined factories, broken satellites, abandoned research stations, all of them had nodes compatible with her authorization. The first node she found was on a small asteroid near the edge of the Sol system. The forge sent a signal connecting to the sleeping machines. Slowly, the asteroid hummed to life. Lights flickered in old laboratories. Doors opened where they had been locked for centuries. Machines began repairing themselves. A small satellite launched into orbit, scanning nearby space. Rill stared. "It's beautiful. You're not just waking machines. You're waking human ingenuity." Mira smiled, feeling her grandfather's presence in every pulse of the forge. "That's the idea. Let's see what humans can do when no one is left to laugh at us." Word of Mira's awakening human nodes spread quickly. Aliens in nearby sectors began reporting strange energy flares and automated human machines activating in places long forgotten. The Galactic Guild of Engineers panicked. Administrator Velkaris convened an emergency council. "A human has activated multiple Class O systems," one official said. "We cannot contain this. Their technology grows faster than we can predict. We must act now." But the Guild underestimated Mira. She had already predicted their moves. Using the forge, she began reinforcing her nodes and connecting them in a secure human network. Every attempt to intercept or sabotage was met with automated defenses. Drones repaired instantly. Ships rebuilt mid-flight, and communication relays encrypted themselves in seconds. The Guild tried to impose sanctions, but alien traders ignored them. Mira had become the central hub of trade, repair, and technology. Her word carried more power than any Guild decree. Days later, Mira visited the Sol system personally. She traveled in a ship rebuilt by the forge faster than anything the Guild could deploy. Orbiting Earth, long abandoned and scarred by centuries of war, she gazed at her ancestral home. The forge hummed softly, connecting to dormant stations across the planet. Earth node detected. Awakening. The ground shook slightly as old factories, research stations, and even automated defense systems came online. Lights flickered across the continents. Humanity's machines remembered their purpose. Mira felt a surge of pride. "We're back," she whispered. A holographic projection appeared above the bridge of her ship, displaying a map of all human nodes. 17 in total, spread across multiple systems. All nodes can be activated in sequence. Total potential output: full human civilization restoration. Rill, standing beside her, blinked. "Do you realize what you're doing? You're not just rich, you're rewriting history." Mira smiled. The galaxy laughed at humanity. Now it's time they remember who we are. When she returned to Valaris 9, Mira found the yard buzzing with activity. Drones were coordinating faster than ever, repairing ships, reorganizing scrap, and constructing new facilities. Even the VAR traders were watching from a distance, careful not to anger the human queen. Rill handed her a datapad. "The forge. It started sending encrypted blueprints to other nodes. Some are reconstructing themselves without orders." Mira frowned. "It's learning, Rill. Not just from me, but from everything we touch. Every repair, every blueprint, it's improving itself." "We must be careful," Rill warned. "If the Guild figures out the network's full potential—" Mira cut him off, calm but determined. "Let them try. No one can stop what humans built, and no one can stop what we are about to rebuild." That night she climbed the roof of the command spire once again. Below her, the junkyard shone like a city of blue fire. Ships moved autonomously. Drones hovered in formation, and the forge pulsed with a steady heartbeat. Mira whispered softly to the stars. Grandpa, I understand now. You didn't just leave me a junkyard. You left me a legacy, one that the galaxy will never forget. The Forge's voice echoed, calm and steady. Legacy recognized. Human awakening in progress. Sector-wide integration commencing. The twin suns of Valaris 9 rose over the glowing junkyard, casting long shadows over ships, drones, and workshops that had once been piles of rust and metal. The Callan salvage yard was no longer a junkyard. It was a hub of human ingenuity, alive with drones sorting parts, ships repairing themselves, and the quantum forge pulsing at the center like a calm, powerful heartbeat. Mira Callan stood atop her command spire, her hair blowing in the wind. Her eyes scanned the busy yard below. She had come a long way in just a few weeks. What had once been a pile of junk was now a technological powerhouse, and the galaxy was watching. Her friend Rill approached, holding a datapad overflowing with messages from alien traders, mercenaries, and even former rivals. Mira, he said, the galaxy has noticed. Every major sector knows about the Forge now. The Guild is sending more ships, more envoys, and even your old VAR enemies are asking for contracts. Mira smiled faintly. Good, let them see what humans can do. Rill hesitated. You do realize what this means, right? You're about to become untouchable, wealthy, powerful, the most important human in history. Mira laughed softly. I don't do this for power. I do it because humanity deserves to be remembered. By mid-morning, the first Guild task force had arrived in orbit. Their massive black and silver ships blocked the sunlight over Valaris 9. Automated drones swarmed, trying to scan the yard, but each drone was immediately repaired or neutralized by the Forge. Ships attempting to land were rebuilt mid-flight, their engines glowing as they adjusted to avoid collisions. Inside the spire, Mira watched the holographic projections of the Guild ships. She spoke calmly to the Forge. Prepare a demonstration. Non-lethal but unforgettable. The Forge pulsed. A holographic fleet of ships, rebuilt by Mira from old wrecks, rose from the yard in perfect formation. Their engines glowed, their shields shimmered, and their weapons calibrated instantly. The Guild ships trembled as if aware that this was more than a threat. It was a warning. A transmission came through from the Guild administrator. Felcaris. Mira Callan, you are ordered to shut down the Quantum Forge immediately. Failure to comply will be met with full force. Mira smiled, calm and confident. She leaned forward. I don't take orders from those who laughed at humanity. You can either cooperate or leave. Your choice, the Guild paused. They had underestimated humans, and now they realized they were facing something far beyond their understanding. Across the sector, reports of Mira's yard spread like wildfire. Alien traders offered credits, resources, and rare technology in exchange for access to her forge. Mira had a new idea. She wouldn't sell the forge itself. Instead, she offered licenses, blueprints for ships, energy systems, and automated factories. Her terms were simple: pay, respect human technology, and follow basic rules. No one could access the forge without her permission. Within days, Mira's wealth began growing faster than any merchant, any guild, or any planetary government. Rill stared at the projections on the bridge. Mira, your net worth, just from licenses and trade alone, it's astronomical. You're about to become the richest individual in the galaxy. Mira nodded. Let the galaxy try to stop it. The forge protects us. By the end of the week, the VAR traders who had once mocked her were now her partners. They sent fleets of their best ships to her yard for repairs and upgrades. The Zenari, impressed and cautious, offered ancient relics they had salvaged for integration. Even the Guild, though begrudging, began to send envoys to negotiate rather than attack. Mira realized she could expand her influence further. Using the Quantum Forge, she activated more human nodes across distant systems. Each node connected automatically to her central command on Valaris 9. Old factories, abandoned research stations, and dormant satellites came alive. The galaxy underestimates humans, Mira whispered to Rill. They forget what we built before. They laughed, and now we will show them. Machines across the galaxy repaired themselves. Ships that had been derelict for centuries rose into the stars, fully operational. Trade routes flourished under the human network's guidance. Technology that had once been lost was restored, enhanced, and shared under Mira's rules. One evening, Mira stood atop her spire and gazed at the stars. The forge pulsed beneath her like a heartbeat, steady and strong. "Rill," she said softly, "do you know why my grandfather left me this junkyard?" Rill shook his head. "He didn't leave me just machines or scraps. He left me humanity's legacy. The forge is just the beginning. We can rebuild what was lost, better, stronger, and smarter." Rill smiled, awe in his eyes. "You're going to change the galaxy, Mira. Not with weapons, not with force, but with human ingenuity." Mira nodded. "Exactly. The galaxy laughed at us because they forgot. Humans never give up. We create, we adapt, and when the time comes, we rise." The next day, Mira held a public demonstration. Drones lifted scrap from the ground, built ships, and launched them into orbit. Alien traders, guild envoys, and independent mercenaries watched in awe. Systems that had been abandoned for centuries now glimmered with light as old human factories reactivated. When the demonstration ended, Mira spoke calmly, clearly, and firmly. "You mocked human scrap. You said we were weak. You said we could never achieve anything, but we do. This junkyard, these ships, this network, it all belongs to humanity. And humanity is awake." The crowd of aliens fell silent. No one could argue. No one could deny the truth, even the guild hesitated. Felkaris realized that force would not work. Mira's control over the quantum forge and the network of nodes made her untouchable. By the end of the week, Mira had established a new standard for trade, technology, and manufacturing across the sector. Her wealth was immense. Aliens paid tribute, traded for her technology, or partnered with her for survival and progress. The name Callan became known and respected in every system. Ships bore the Callan insignia, symbolizing not just ownership, but human ingenuity. Traders whispered in awe about the human girl who had inherited a junkyard and built a fortune that no empire could challenge. Mira didn't hoard her power. She shared knowledge with those willing to follow her rules, improving entire colonies, repairing old human settlements, and even activating dormant satellites to aid navigation and communication. Rill approached her one evening. "Mira, you've done it. You've become the richest, most influential person in the galaxy. What now?" Mira looked at the stars, her face calm and determined. "Now we make sure the galaxy never forgets humans again." She turned to the forge, her hand resting lightly on its surface. The blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. "We've only just begun," she whispered. "There's more to rebuild, more to recover, and more to show them." The forge hummed softly in response, as if acknowledging her words. Across Valaris 9, drones moved in perfect harmony, ships rose into orbit, and the once laughing aliens now bowed to the ingenuity and determination of one human girl. The galaxy had laughed at Mira Callan when she inherited a junkyard. Now, she was the richest in the sector, and no one would ever underestimate humanity again.